All right, time for another Nerdy Virgin podcast, which maybe I'm taking this all too seriously. Maybe it's fine for me to just gab into my phone for a few minutes every week and post it. Maybe that's good enough. No, it's not good enough. It has to be perfection. Every podcast has to be a piece of gold that falls from the tears of the gods. Or it doesn't. I don't know. I once again, am not using my expensive equipment. I'm recording this into my phone and hoping for the best. I'm sorry for the plosives. I know every time I say a P sound, it's popping into this phone's mic, and it's not the ideal audio experience. But perhaps that's a metaphor for how life is. I was reading in, I think it was Steppenwolf by Hermann Hesse. They're saying that, that the pure truth, or that the purity of life is the music, but the reality of life is when you listen to it on a record with scratches. So it's not going to be perfect when you experience it, but there is a perfection underneath it. How about that? That right there, I think, was worth 5 podcasts for you. You take that. How am I doing? I'm panicking. I'm in a panicky state of mind. I keep reading CNN.com, which is a dumb thing for me to do. And now I'm reading, there's another variant. There's always going to be another variant. Of course there's another variant. Is it going to, but they say the boosters are probably going to provide partial protection against it's going to be here forever. It's going to be here forever. That's all there is to it. Okay, fine. I just got to get used to it. Got to keep on moving through. Just keep taking it one day at a time, you know what I mean? Just keep taking it one day at a time. What am I talking about today? What's happening in my life? Actually, you know what it is? I'll tell you what's happening. I think this is why I'm feeling weird. I'm coming up on I guess this would be the 3-year anniversary this month, around this time of the month, when my cousin took his own life. Did I mention this is a comedy podcast? No, you're correct. It's labeled as a comedy podcast. And he was 40 when he killed himself. I'm 40 right now, and so I'm doing mental gymnastics on that, and just feeling very fragile and mortal. And I think also because I feel like if people drop dead in their 30s, it's a tragedy. It's unheard of. It's, what? Are you kidding me? But get to 40, I feel like that's when people start to say, well, this is when it starts. This is when it happens. You got to watch your cholesterol levels. So, I don't know. I've been going off my diet a little bit. I ate a half a bag of tortilla chips today. That's not gonna go down easy. It was phenomenally delicious, but that's not gonna go down easy. How am I doing on time? How am I doing on time? What time is it? It's 8:22. Okay. It's 8:22. I'm going to run to an open mic after this. Don't freak out when, I don't want you to feel like you're an afterthought. But I'm walking through the neighborhood and recording this as I'm walking. So I'm getting my exercise. I'm recording a podcast, all while preparing to go to an open mic. I am multitasking, my friends. And what is this all leading up to? I'm not entirely sure. I think that the revelation I made is that, I've been doing stand-up for 10 years now. And when I first started, I would see people in their 40s and 50s at open mics, and I would judge them. And I would say, they haven't figured it out. And now I'm one of those people. I have not figured it out. So I was told that I'm more of an alt kind of guy, more of an alt comic, which, given the amount of time and energy that I've spent studying the starships and Star Trek, I think there's a valid argument there. Comics, I've heard comics get up on stage and go, when you're dancing at the nightclub and blah, 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 and I can respond confidently, no, I do not know what it is like to dance at the nightclub. I am not aware of what this is like. So, Alti, I'm trying to lean into it, I guess. How do I lean into it? By getting specific, by telling you specifically. It's been... all right, here's where my head's been at. They dropped a more comprehensive trailer for the next season of Star Trek Picard, and there was a brief moment where we saw what appeared to be the new Starship Enterprise, NCC 1701F. Okay? So the Enterprise D was in the Next Generation TV series, and the first of the Next Generation movies, Star Trek Generations. And then the Enterprise E was in Star Trek First Contact, and Insurrection and Nemesis. So the 3 Star Trek The Next Generation movies. And then, in a Star Trek Online game, they premiered the Enterprise F, that I think was designed. They did a design contest. So people sent in their designs, and someone was chosen a winner, and that's what the Enterprise F was. And it looks like they're using that Enterprise F in Star Trek Picard, which means it is now officially canon. And yes, I am this nerdy. I am this geeky. That's what I am. And I've been thinking about it for a week. I've been thinking about this. The fact that they went with that, they didn't do a new design. They could have done a whole new Enterprise F. This is Paramount Plus we're talking about. They got a lot of money here. They could have sat down and said, we're going to do a whole new Enterprise F, and they did not. So, how do I feel about the Enterprise F? Good question. There's things I like about it, things I don't like about it. The most prominent feature is that it has 2 necks. All the other Enterprises, I'm talking about the thing that connects the saucer section with the tube thing. For those of you, I don't know, any non-nerds listening to this, I think you may have stumbled upon the wrong podcast. I don't know what name I can call this beyond the nerdy virgin that will help you find what you're looking for. We will not be discussing the Denver Broncos at all in this podcast. But I'm not too... How do I feel about the 2 necks? I don't know. I'm torn. Man, I'm torn. I think 2 necks. I think the USS Grissom. That's where my head goes. It's not a good ship to be on. That was the ship that got blown up. That's the ship that always gets blown up. There's this one starship in Star Trek that always gets blown up. It's the Grissom. And the practical reason behind that was they only had a certain number of physical models that they could afford to use. And one of those models was this ship with didn't really have 2 necks, but it looked flimsy. It's a flimsy looking ship. And every 15 episodes of The Next Generation, every 15th episode, that would be the ship that's in trouble, or the ship that blows up, or the ship that the Enterprise needs to go and rescue. If you're in Starfleet and you get posted to that ship, you leave Starfleet. You say, I'm going to stay on Earth. I'm not going on that thing. How are those things not decommissioned after all of them had been through what they had been through? That is just not, there comes a point, listen, when you're the Ford Pinto of ships, there comes a point where you got to throw your hands in the air and go, we didn't nail this one. We didn't nail this one. So, I don't know, it's got 2 necks, and it's it looks like the secondary hull, they're pulling cues from the Enterprise D, so it's got like a wider smile on the front of the secondary hull, if you will. and the primary hull is more aerodynamic, so it's kind of more Enterprise-y. It's like a mixture of the two. I just don't know, folks. I just don't know how to feel about it. Parts of it I like. I kind of like that fusion. I think the 2 was a risk. It was a big risk, and I like the bold risk. I like the boldness of it. I think at the end of the day, though, I would rather be on a ship that had no neck, had the primary hull fused with the secondary hull. It seems a bit more secure. And I don't care about titanium. Don't talk to me about titanium. I don't buy it. I want a few extra bolts and a few extra staples just to feel a bit more secure. And yeah, this is what I think about. I've been ashamed to talk about this, but I do think about this in depth. I should be thinking about other things in depth, like what am I doing with my life? That should be the question. But that's not what I'm doing. I can't believe I just spent 11 minutes talking about this ship. And I didn't even want to. The whole plan was I was going to talk about Andor. I wanted to have a conversation with you about that thing, which is well written, well acted, very well executed. One of the best Star Wars series out there right now. And yet, can we pick up the pace on this thing? Can we just get to it? There was a prolonged stretch in the last episode where they were loading cases onto a ship. It was at least 5 to 7 minutes of loading things onto a ship. Too much loading. We get it. They're trying to steal stuff. Let's cut to the chase. I don't know how they were able to escape. They were loading for so long. Maybe that's the other issue too, is that there's a part of me that, there's no Jedi in this. There's no magic in this. So every time I see a scene or there's an action sequence or something, I'm thinking, oh God, if the Jedi had been here, the whole thing could have been wrapped up in 15 minutes. Unbelievable. But, it is, what's interesting about it is that it's a different genre. It's not really, it's within the same universe, but a different genre. Same with She-Hulk, which is a totally different thing than all the other Marvel series. It's a meta comedy. And that's okay. That's fair. You've got to stretch the genre to see where you can go and where you can't go. You have to test the limits, man. You got to test the limits. So I think I'm using all of this to escape from. I'm using all this to escape from dealing with the tragedy in my past and dealing with my parents I visited who are getting older, and my mom is she can't live by herself anymore. My dad is pretty much her full-time caregiver, and she's all there, but just for she's got physical ailments that prevent her from driving and from being able to survive on her own. And this was the first time I'd visited them since the pandemic, since before the pandemic. And I think, I had known that this was happening, but I got to tell you that being there and being with them and seeing it and being in the reality of it, I somehow felt a little bit more at peace with it. That, okay, this is what happens. People get old. And it's a part of life, I guess. It's also a preview of what's going to happen to my body when I look at this. And I shouldn't have eaten those tortilla chips. That's what I'll tell you right now. I need to go on the mother of all diets after seeing what happens here. I do not come from the A+ genetics, my friends. Playtime is over. It is time to exercise and eat vegetables, and maybe I can get through this with some semblance of being able to walk. My goodness, I don't know what happened to and this is the thing. Sometimes I see this, I see what they're going through, I see all the ailments that I have, and I'm sitting here thinking, I'm the sperm that made it. This is the guy that won the race. I mean, can you imagine? This was the alpha of that particular group of individual sperm. I don't know. Oh, man. I don't know what was going on down there, but that's probably not, probably not, how there's some, I guess we are going to talk about the Broncos. There's some games that are really, really exciting, and then some games where like, I think I can leave at the fifth. I can leave it at halftime here. That's probably what it was watching the race to make me. I think probably not a really fantastic. Probably wasn't even a race. It was probably a lot of just groping around in the dark. One shouting to the other one, "Is this it?" No. What are you finding it? I don't know what's going on. That's closer probably to what it is, to what it was. All right, well, I didn't think I was going to talk about the Enterprise F this long. I didn't think I had it in me. And I think the real question is, do you have it within you to listen to me talk about the Enterprise F for that long? It bothers me too, the F, NCC 1701F. I think of the F word, all the F words, it puts a bad taste in my mouth. There's a lot going on with F. I mean, there's a lot of good words that start with F, like felicity, I guess, right? That's a good word. But I don't know. E, I like the E. I like the letter E. There's something, you always need it. It's useful. It's reliable. E feels like a good letter. F, I don't know. Not so sure. Well, this got contemplative. Now this is the fallout of eating all these potato chips is, am I able to get through doing this mic and driving from there and back without having to have a major bowel movement? That's the question. I think so. We'll find out. I'm also realizing that I have to get back to drive out there pretty quickly. I didn't time this very well. I thought I would have more time to take the walk. I'm glad I turned back when I did. I hate rushing to a mic. I hate rushing to anything. I should be on the road by now. Good. See, this is what I like, is that this always, no matter what happens, it always devolves into guilt. That's always how I like to leave this podcast. It's also tricky because it's a street sweeping day, so that means I'm probably not going to be able to find a space when I get back. Oh, it's 9 kinds of awful. 9 kinds of awful right now. Well, there's a lot to report there. Hey, here's the other thing I gotta start doing. Like, I was invited to go do this Star Trek thing, I guess, where you pretend, it's like a VR thing. You pretend to beam down to a planet and you can shoot things and use your tricorder. And I think one of these days I got to go do that. I'm still, like, when I traveled this last week, this was the first time I'd really done any traveling since before the pandemic, and I didn't realize how nervous being around people was, and how, it was doubly nervous because I went to the comedy festival thing I did before visiting my parents, so I'm freaking out about catching something and then giving it to them. But, I mean, I wish we could get to the point where that's not a concern anymore. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? I don't know. Then again, maybe it's always a concern. They're only going to get older and more frail, and even the flu could, knock them out. But I think I gotta leave my apartment sometime. That's the thing I'm trying to remind myself of too. Like I should be getting out. I need to get out more. I need to get out more. I need to talk to people. I need to live my life, right? I need to live my life. But then when I actually go do that, it's usually annoying. Then I'm just like, I just want to go home and watch Andor. And then I go home and I watch Andor, and I'm like, I need to get out of the house. Well, this is me going around in circles. I'm not sure what this is going to accomplish, but here you go. I think we're good for today. I think this is good. I think I've covered what I need to cover. I'm feeling good about this. It's been about 20 minutes. I don't think anyone needs any more of this.